Heavy tank evolution starts in 1916, when tanks were not sleek war machines. They were brutal steel experiments built for one job: cross trenches, crush wire, and survive machine gun fire long enough to break the battlefield. The first British heavy tanks looked strange because nobody really knew what a tank should be yet. They had no modern turret, terrible visibility, unbearable heat, fumes inside the hull, and constant mechanical problems. But they created something more important than comfort: fear. For soldiers used to infantry and artillery, seeing a metal machine crawl through mud was a completely new shock. The early generations were not perfect weapons. They were prototypes forced into war. Every new version tried to solve one problem: easier steering, stronger tracks, better reliability, or more useful weapon placement. They looked crude, but they started armored warfare. Germany's A7V followed a different path. It looked like a huge armored room on tracks, packed with crew and weapons. It seemed powerful, but it was rare, awkward, and too limited to change the war. It proved that size and intimidation were not enough. After World War I, tank design entered one of its strangest periods. Armies still did not know if the future tank should be fast, heavily armored, or built like a moving fortress. That is how machines like the Char 2C, Vickers Independent, and Soviet T-35 appeared. They looked impressive, especially on parade, but they proved a hard lesson. More turrets, more crew, and more size did not automatically make a better tank. The multi-turret idea looked logical on paper. One tank could fire in several directions and dominate like a land battleship. In real combat, it became a command nightmare. Too many weapons meant too much confusion and too many things that could fail under pressure. By the late 1930s, the idea became clearer. A serious tank needed one strong main gun, useful armor, decent mobility, and a crew that could actually control the vehicle in combat. The age of the moving fortress was fading. The Char B1 bis showed how dangerous a well-armored tank could be. In 1940, some German units had serious trouble stopping it. But it also showed another truth: a strong tank can still fail if the army around it lacks communication, coordination, and clear tactics. Tanks do not win alone. The Matilda II became famous in the desert because early enemy guns struggled against its armor. For a short time, it felt almost invincible. But tank warfare is always a race. Armor improves, then guns improve. One advantage never lasts forever. The Soviet KV-1 shocked German forces in 1941. Many early anti-tank weapons could barely harm it, but it also carried the classic heavy tank problem. The more armor you add, the harder the machine becomes to move, repair, transport, and use efficiently. Then came the Tiger I, one of the most famous tanks ever built. Its gun was deadly, its armor was strong, and Allied crews respected it. But the legend often hides the cost. The Tiger was expensive, mechanically demanding, and hard to keep running. The Soviet IS-2 took a more brutal approach. It was not only made for tank duels, it was made to smash bunkers, buildings, strong points, and defensive positions. It was a breakthrough weapon with a simple message: hit hard enough to change the battlefield. The Tiger II pushed the heavy tank concept to the edge. It looked terrifying and had massive presence, but it also showed what happens when design ambition becomes too heavy for reality. More armor and firepower made it powerful, but also fuel-hungry, mechanically stressed, and difficult to operate. After 1945, tanks like the IS-3, IS-4, IS-7, T-10, M103, and Conqueror represented the final age of the classic heavy tank. They had huge armor and serious firepower, but the battlefield was changing fast. Aircraft, improved anti-tank guns, guided missiles, and logistics all started to matter more. The IS-3 changed how heavy tanks looked. Its low profile, pike nose, and rounded turret made older boxy designs feel outdated. The IS-7 was even more extreme. Fast for its size, heavily protected, and ambitious. But it was too complex to become the future. Object 279 looked almost unreal, with its strange body and 4-track layout. It was designed with the fear of nuclear war in mind. It never became practical, but it shows how far designers were willing to go when imagining the next battlefield. Then the main battle tank replaced the old heavy tank category. Instead of building separate light, medium, and heavy tanks, armies wanted one tank that could do almost everything: move fast, survive hits, carry a powerful gun, and operate across different conditions. The heavy tank did not vanish overnight. Its role was absorbed into the main battle tank. The T-62, M60, Chieftain, T-64, T-72, and T-80 show this transition clearly. They were no longer called heavy tanks, but they carried the same idea: strong protection, serious firepower, and battlefield intimidation. The T-72 became important because of scale. It was built in huge numbers and spread across many armies. It was not the most advanced tank, but it became one of the most common armored vehicles in the world. The T-80 brought speed and turbine power, but also showed how fuel consumption can become a weakness. Then modern Western tanks changed the standard again. The Leopard 2 became respected because it was balanced. The Abrams became famous for protection, speed, sensors, and battlefield performance. The Challenger built its identity around crew survival and armor. The Leclerc pushed automation. The Merkava followed its own path, built around crew protection. From the 2000s onward, tank evolution became less about completely new shapes and more about upgrading what already exists. Better sights, stronger armor packages, digital systems, remote weapons, networking, and active protection became the real difference. That is why old platforms can still be dangerous. The T-72B3, T-90M, Abrams SEP upgrades, Leopard 2A7, Challenger 3, and Merkava Barak prove that a tank does not need to be brand new to remain relevant. Today, tanks face a battlefield earlier designers could not fully imagine. Drones, top attack missiles, loitering munitions, constant surveillance, and cheap precision weapons changed everything. A tank is no longer only threatened from the front. It can be watched, tracked, and attacked from above. That is why modern tanks carry more sensors, cage armor, remote weapon stations, anti-drone protection, and active defense systems. Armor alone is no longer enough. A modern tank has to detect the threat, react quickly, and survive before the hit even lands. The T-14 Armata introduced one of the boldest modern ideas: an unmanned turret with the crew protected inside the hull. The KF-51 Panther points toward bigger guns and automation. Abrams X points toward hybrid power, lower fuel use, reduced crew demands, and a quieter future. So heavy tanks did not really disappear. The category died, but the idea survived. From trench-crossing landships to sensor-heavy modern battle tanks, the mission stayed the same: survive the hit, keep moving, and hit back harder. And that is what makes this evolution so interesting. Heavy tanks were never just about being the biggest machines on the battlefield. They were about fear, pressure, protection, and the constant race between weapons and survival. Every generation forced the next one to adapt. Bigger guns created stronger armor. Stronger armor created smarter missiles. Smarter missiles created active protection. And now drones are changing the rules again. After more than a century, the tank is still not finished. It is still evolving.